Before we get started, I was going to make this video the other day, but a lot of my videos have been getting pretty buried lately under the YouTube algorithm and in recommended and stuff. I have another account where I can check. Even that account often does not get notifications or really any sign that I've uploaded. I have to scroll pretty far. So if you enjoy my channel, whether you are a casual viewer who is not subscribed or a longtime viewer who is, I would appreciate it if you click that notification bell after subscribing. And be sure to check back on the channel sometimes because we cover a lot of really fun stuff. I have a great time here. I wanted to talk about something that's going to be a little negative sounding, but it's not meant to really be. Full disclosure here, this video is not sponsored, but WB was nice enough to send me a box of some stuff before they did DC FanDome. Most of it I gave away, to be completely honest with you. My mom's a teacher, so I figured the kids she teaches would probably like most of that stuff. I kept a hardcover book and I kept a hat. So in terms of DC FanDome going into it, that was already very nice, for me. But watching the show, I kind of thought it was disappointing. Now, I understand that many people put a lot of effort, high effort, into the show, and everybody who appeared on screen was passionate about what they were talking about. None of the criticism I have is directed at them at all. But I noticed that a lot of the things that fans, myself included, wanted to see, or who have said that they've wanted to see online, things like that, were not even included in the show. Now, running through some of the stuff that I want to talk about, I think the first one to touch on is very easily Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Yes, we did get to see a little more about the story of both, right? And that's cool. But these are video games, right? Keyword being game that you play. I think it would have been really nice to see some actual gameplay again of Gotham Knights, a little bit more than we got before, or something different, along with actually seeing gameplay at all of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. We got neither. Fans have been really waiting on pretty non-existent marketing for both of these games for the last year. I understand that Rocksteady in the past has been pretty quiet when they tackled things, but the thing with that for them with Suicide Squad was that it was always an understanding that they had made a Batman game before this, so everybody trusted them to do a good job when they were making City and when they were making Night. With WB Games, they proved themselves to me with Origins. A lot of people, they didn't. A lot of people really don't like Origins. I honestly love it. It's one of my favorite stories in not only Batman, like as a character, but just in that Arkham universe. So I think a lot of people are still waiting on WB Games to show them why they should care about Gotham Knights. And just diving into another trailer that shows some story, I don't think that was that. I don't think that was the way to sell it for those people. Now, in terms of other things, we did get a tiny look at The Flash. Again, always teasing Michael Keaton. I love Michael Keaton Batman, to be completely honest with you. That's the biggest thing I'm excited for in this movie. But the movie is called The Flash, right? Isn't it supposed to be about Ezra Miller's Flash? We saw almost nothing with him, like a little bit, but essentially just him running and Michael Keaton talking over him, and in the back of Michael Keaton's head. Weirdly, we've still seen nothing of Ben Affleck in this movie, even though he's supposedly in it, and not much else. As far as other projects, Aquaman 2, we saw almost nothing. I truly believe that's because they were playing it safe to try and avoid backlash with how much people wanted Amber Heard removed from this movie. A lot of this show felt very safe. Now, I'm someone who really loves DC. I love DC Comics. I love the first FanDome. Did it have its cringe in it too? Yeah, sure, fine. But I like the celebrations of characters. Even them talking about Static Shock as a comic character and stuff. I'm there for that. But I think a lot of the people that you're trying to market to get excited for things wanted to see more than what was shown. And it doesn't even stop at the projects I mentioned either. There's also the fact that they didn't really talk about any future plans for the DC EU/Worlds of DC very much beyond just a tiny look at The Rock in Black Adam and The Flash. There was really not much else there. And people have been clamoring, wondering what's that plan going to be forever. You know, people have been really wondering. The hardcore Snyder fans thinking, well, maybe they'll bring back the Snyderverse. The people who have moved on from that, waiting to see what's going to happen with that shared continuity. And, you know, the people like me in between who kind of want to see both, to be completely honest with you, didn't get much on that front either. Not to mention no sign of Henry Cavill as Superman, and it's weird when you don't have one of your biggest characters in almost any presence in the show. In fact, they focused more on his comic book son, who Brian Michael Bendis managed to pretty much slaughter and ruin by aging up randomly and jumping ahead in his character development, to the point where they now have no idea what to do with the character, and that's very obvious and has been for the last 2 years. It's just, I don't really know what part of the point was with this. You know, even something like Smallville, right? I love Smallville. Actually, watching part of the Smallville part of this with Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum talking about it and showing the clips of Smallville, I'm not lying. I shed a tear. I did shed a tear. I grew up with that show. I grew up watching Smallville and Supernatural. Those characters, to me, as cringe as this might sound to some people, I grew up with those characters. As I watched Clark Kent, as I watched Lex Luthor develop, I was growing up as a teenager. You know, as I watched Dean Winchester and Sam Winchester through all their troubles, you know, that's another WB thing, but wasn't obviously at FanDome, with Supernatural, also on that same network. I grew up with those characters. So when I see a lot of stuff for either of those shows, it really does tug an emotional chord. But even despite that, I kind of wondered why so soon. You know, I know that they were celebrating the anniversary of Smallville, and I appreciate that, and they did a good job with that, but Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum had talked before about working on more Smallville with the animated spinoff and stuff like that, that is supposedly in the works, and it seemed odd to have them on DC FanDome before there was really anything ready to show with that. You know, that's kind of what I wanted to get to at the end of the day with this whole thing, is that I almost felt like there wasn't enough ready, right? I think that FanDome, and I understand why, actually, you know, with, you know, the health crisis and everything like that, it's been going on forever. Despite where you may stand on that, production did shut down on things for a long time or change gears. So it's not the fault of those teams. It's not the fault of Tom Welling, Michael Rosenbaum for Smallville. It's not the fault of WB Games for Gotham Knights. I don't even mind that they've barely marketed the game that much. I wish they'd show something, but in terms of why they haven't, I understand that those development gears shifted and had to change for a long time. Same with Rocksteady, I'm sure, and all the rest of the movies. But I kind of wonder why they didn't put FanDome off a bit then. You know, I know it would have involved skipping this year, but early 2022, or even the end of 2021, almost like a Christmas type thing. Like, not Christmas, but, you know, mid-December, when they've had a couple more months to get everything into gear. I guess another month and a half. A lot can happen in a month and a half. A lot happens on movie sets in a month and a half. A lot happens in video game development in a month and a half. Some games are developed, you know, 3 or 4 years, so a month and a half is a good amount of time to throw something together. I really do think that this show would have benefited from waiting. And again, that's not the fault of the organizers. That's not the fault of the people who showed up on screen and gave their all, or anyone working on any project. I just thought the show was disappointing because there wasn't enough to show for a show. I think that it would be really beneficial. Now, I pray to God this never happens again, but if there is some kind of ridiculous slowdown, let's say there's an, you know, international disaster, or there is some kind of health crisis again in 10 years, and FanDome or PAX or E3 or any show is still going on at that point, right? Short of Comic-Con or a fan-led show, or I guess a fan-geared show where there's a lot to talk about from tons of IP, it would be beneficial to hold off. You know, wait a bit until you have more to show, and then continue. Because as far as what I saw, the one thing I was very, very impressed by the marketing of is the Batman. And that's been in development for quite a while, and there was no reason that couldn't successfully show something off. And obviously, at the end of the day, too, the other thing that really annoyed me as a content creator, and this is not going to bother most of you, rightfully so, it doesn't really affect you, is that I've noticed that they were very, very anti-content creator with this show. Now, I understand if you are just ripping the show and re-uploading it, adding no commentary, no reaction, nothing transformative. I understand that. That's crap. You know, if somebody downloaded my video and uploads it again and monetizes it, right? Adds nothing to it at all. Yeah, that's stealing it. That's not transformative. But the people I saw reacting to and talking about this show, Alex from Podcast Now, Evan Falarka. I don't know how many problems Kobe Slickmoff had with it, but maybe he had one too. I didn't see if he did. A lot of people were getting copyright claims and copyright strikes on pretty much I guess just claims that can evolve into strikes if they are not resolved if you appeal them, over the smallest of things. I know Alex was getting it just for showing some of the footage from the Gotham Knights trailer, which it's like, this is also free marketing for you, as a company. You need this. It sounds conceited, but you do need us, right? The fans who made videos about it, the fans who wanted to spread it further, who talk about it for the people who are at work. Because yes, people work Saturdays. There's a lot of people who work Saturdays who are not going to bother to watch 4 hours of your show when they get off work, and they're going to go to Degenerate J, or they're going to go to Podcast Now, or they're going to go to Slickmoff, or Evan Falarka, or anyone else, not even just us, anybody else, and they're going to watch that video because it's 10 minutes and it breaks down something, and they have time for that. When you are alienating content creators like that, it's just more of a kick in the teeth, especially when you act like you care about them. When you act like, oh, we want to be on board with you, hey, how about you promote the show? Or not promote the show, I guess, but open this box and talk about the show coming up so that people know when it is. That kind of stuff, like with me, right? And then I'm getting copyright claims for talking about Black Adam, just hyping it up, selling free tickets for you. That's the kind of stuff to me that's really frustrating, that seems very anti-consumer, anti-fan. And at the end of the day, this is supposed to be FanDome. This is a celebration of fans. When you do crap like that is so anti-fan, it's just really a big turnoff for me. I completely understand if your takeaway from this video is, well, that's why Jay is mad, or that's why Jay was disappointed. But it wasn't just that. If it was just that, fine. It was more like this was icing on the cake of already being kind of disappointed. Now, I liked the show. I had fun. I hope that this does not burn bridges and make people mad at me, whether that be fellow DC fans or people who are, at Warner Bros. Or wherever. But I always try to honestly share my thoughts on stuff, and I had some people asking me what I thought of the show. I had fun, but almost every time I saw something that I was like, oh, that was cool, I also thought, why couldn't we see a little more of that? Or what, is there more to this? Or, oh, that's it. Okay, we're done with that segment. All right. Kind of wish that I wasn't feeling that way. Maybe it's just me. Maybe nobody else felt that way. I'm interested to hear in the comments down below. Maybe I'm being ungrateful. I don't know. Let me know what you think down there. Please be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more content. I appreciate you very much. I hope that you had a good time watching FanDome. I hope you had a good time with this video. I do have a couple more things with FanDome, probably one video tomorrow with Gotham Knights, and then I think I'm going to move on from the show for the most part, unless something comes back up, just because I got a lot of videos I'm working on that I would like to make. I have some series I'd like to continue on the channel that are not news-based. So please be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more, hit that notification bell, and check back if you're interested. And as always, in the description down below, there's tons of stuff, tons of goodies, including a secondary channel where I love hanging out with you. Have a fantastic day, everyone. And as always, stay shui. Well, if you're still here, that must mean you're pretty passionate and enjoying the video, or you fell asleep. So a huge thank you to some of our patrons, Andre, Caleb, Jonah, Seth, Ricardo, and Michael. Thank you very much to all of you. And hey, if you're interested, the Patreon link is in the description down below. It's a nice way for us to connect, a nice way for you to support the channel if you enjoy it and are able to. Otherwise, a like, subscribe, tell me what you think. That all is super meaningful as well. Have a fantastic day and stay shui.